Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Gatherers Gallery. Today we are visiting the Loire Valley with two fantastic wines, Domaine de Nozay, Sancerre, and Les Graviers, Domaine de Bourg, St-Nicolas-de-Bourgueil. Try saying that after a few glasses of wine. We've got Henry here with us in the kitchen.
Good afternoon.
And we're going to be taking a little trip down, a very personal trip for me, down memory lane, back to a couple of places that I used to work in the 90s for the menus, so more of that to come. Looking at the wines first, Domaine de Nozay Sancerre. This vineyard was set up by the brother-in-law of Aubert de Villaine, who some of you will know from Domaine de Romanée-Conti. So there's incredible winemaking heritage here. It's Sauvignon Blanc, obviously, and pretty serious Sauvignon Blanc, I guess is best to describe it. The chap who set the vineyard up, it's now his son who's taken over. The winemaking is all biodynamic, so that's lots of, it's organic plus, if you like, following the phases of the moon. Very interesting methods of producing pretty complicated or complex wine. It's definitely more aromatic and perhaps more richer, perhaps on the nose than many Sancerre. Maybe even a bit of aniseed, something like that in there. Lovely wine, and definitely needs food to go with it. So that is going to be paired with a red pepper and salt cod salad. Interesting stuff. Onto the red, St-Nicolas-de-Bourgueil. So again, Loire Valley, you can see I've chilled it a little bit, which is very much the best way to serve a wine like this. Cabernet Franc is a great variety. Some of the challenges with Cabernet Franc, I guess, are if it's not a good vintage, then it can be a little bit grassy and mean. But this is a very good vintage. You can see in the colour, great deep colour. Delicious perfume, definitely raspberries there. And this we're going to pair with a sort of salt beef hash cake, a salt beef stovey, which Henry's going to be cooking for us next. I first met this wine in 1991 when I was running, before you were born, when I was running a restaurant called the Brackenbury in Hammersmith. It opened up that year, set up by Kate and Adam Robinson. And there was a young chap who used to sell me wine by the name of Adam Brett Smith, who is now the managing director of Coin Barrow. And this wine was on the list. I remember it was £17.25. Everything was great value at the Brackenbury. And we ran on very tight margins, low staff, and produced some incredible food. We got the same number of stars, 8 out of 10, I think, as the Gavroche in a review in the Times. About a month after we opened, and after that, for about 7 years, the phone didn't stop ringing. But Adam, the chef, was great at using cheaper ingredients to make delicious meals, and I guess this menu is a bit of a tribute to him. Henry's much better looking than Adam, thankfully, so he's going to cook it and talk us through it, Henry.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it was in 1991. I was only 7 years old then, so I don't have a great deal of experience in cooking these two particular dishes, but they are versions of dishes that we've done various things with Gatherers as a catering company. This reminds me of some of the dishes we do for some of the weddings that we do. Yep. So it's going to be super fresh and interesting. So we've got a piece of salt cod here that Clive very kindly has salted for us overnight. Salt cod typically is put into a very heavy salt mix, completely covered for a very long period of time to draw all of the moisture out and bacteria and everything that could possibly let that cod deteriorate out of it, and then it's kept as that until you're ready to use it. It's a great way of preserving fish. That would be called bacalao. And to then reconstitute that, you'd need to soak it for a very long time in water that you would keep changing over and over again. And then you would poach that bring more of the salt out of it to cook it. And then you would make salt cod cakes, salt cod and red pepper salad, which we're going to do today. Various different things, but we're going to do a version of that with what's essentially a light cure on a piece of cod, with a roasted red pepper salad that's going to have some smoked paprika, some sherry vinegar, some parsley, shallot, tomato, garlic all together. We're just going to mix that all together and make a nice fresh salad. Okay, so the salt cod and red pepper salad. The red pepper we want to roast, and we're going to take the skin off. So to do that, you could do that straight on the gas and burn that skin, and then stick it in some cling film or an airtight container and sweat it, and then the skin will come off. You could grill it on your grill, or you could just simply roast it. So we're just going to simply roast that. That's going to go onto a tray into a hot oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. After that 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to take your red pepper, put it in an airtight container or in some cling film, and just let it cool down, okay? Once it's done that, it's cooled down, you'll see all the skin starts to wrinkle and come together. You're just going to peel all of that off, okay? We don't want any of that skin, and what we want is this flesh underneath, which is really sweet, nice roast pepper flesh, okay? So I've already done that. I've skinned some pepper, and I've just torn it up into shreds, okay? So that's going to be the base for our salad. That's going in.
1991, roast red peppers were a pretty exotic ingredient, I should point out, and you know, it was quite exciting to be working with them.
Mind-blowing stuff. Okay, so here's our salt cod. We're going to give this a rinse, okay? Like I said, it's not been in a heavy cure, but it's still going to be a little bit salty. So we're just going to rinse it in some cold water. So that's rinsed off, and then we're just going to slice with a nice sharp knife. Ooh, some pieces of this cod. Okay, so we've got some of our salt cod going in there. It's looking good. We've got some sliced up shallot, just raw. That's going to go in there. We've got some parsley leaves that I've picked through, just taken all the stalks out, but that's going to be kind of the salady base for this dish. Nice pepperiness coming from that. Just going to move our cod to one side. The tomato, we're going to again get rid of the skin and the flesh. So I've halved this tomato and already got some ready, but basically all you're going to do is quarter the tomato, so you'll end up with 4 quarters. We're going to take the flesh out just by pinning it down on the board and running a knife through. That flesh and seeds, we don't the seeds and juice we don't really want. And then we're going to flatten this tomato on our board, and we're just going to run a knife between the skin and the flesh, a bit like if we were skinning a fillet of fish really. And that's going to take the hard bit of tomato skin off, and then we're just going to dice that tomato up. And then we've got some very, very, very finely sliced slithers of garlic. That can go in. And then we've got a little bit of smoked paprika here. Just maybe 1/4 teaspoon, just to give us a smoky back note. We've got some lovely Pedro Jimenez Reserve Sherry Vinegar. We're going to create a little bit of a dressing basically for this. Just a dash. And then we've got some lovely extra virgin olive oil. Just to finish us off.
You probably don't need salt in there because the cod has got a fair amount of salt itself.
Absolutely. So we're just going to give a pinch of black pepper. Again, not too much. And we're going to mix that all together. There we go. Sit up nice and brown on our plate. Thanks for you, Clive. Oh, let's take a little tumble there.
Fantastic. There we are. Salt cod, red pepper salad. So where I come from in Aberdeen, there's a very famous dish called stovies, which is leftover meat cooked with potatoes very slowly on the stove.
That's what I thought we were making today.
When back in '91, when we had some leftover salt beef from doing salt beef sandwiches, we mixed it up with some mashed potato, etc., and put it on the menu as a salt beef hash cake, which we quickly renamed as a stovey singular. So I'm sure there's some people in Aberdeen getting very upset right now, but trust me, when you see Henry cook this, you will understand just how delicious it is.
Hearty food. Nice French wine and Scottish dish to go with it. So, we've got some salt beef here. So, brisket of beef that's salted and brined for probably up to about a week really, for a version of preservation, a bit like the salt cod, but also to impart flavour, so you put lots of spices and bits in there. If you're interested in making your own salt beef, let us know on the video and we'll give you a recipe regarding that. It is an involved process, so you can get a piece of brisket from your butcher that is already brined and ready to go. So we've got some shreds of that we're going to add to our mixing bowl. Not too much, just enough. And then we've got some boiled potatoes. Okay, so they're mashed basically, nice and easy to break up with our hand. They're cool, obviously. I've let those cool down a bit. So we're going to break some of those into our dish. This is super simple, okay? We're not going to overcomplicate this too much. And then we've got some diced shallot and chopped parsley. Okay, that's all going to go into our stovey. And then we're going to basically bring this together a bit like a burger, but the potato is the binder. And we've got those nice shreds of salt beef going through it. I'm just going to add a little bit of butter to our hot pan. Okay, I'm just going to pull this together now. And we're just going to let that fry off basically. Obviously there's quite a lot of salt in the salt beef. There's salt in the potatoes when they were cooked. We've got pepperiness from the parsley, so we're not going to add an awful lot more seasoning to that. Okay, we're just going to leave it as it is. And then we're going to make a little cream and mustard sauce to go with that. So pan on a kind of low to medium heat. We've got some double cream here. This is again very simple. Double cream goes in. We're going to bring that up to heat. And then we've got some whole grain mustard here, okay? So we're going to put a generous spoon or two in here. Just going to fry an egg in the butter that we've got there. Nice fresh egg. To do that, we're just going to turn our heat up a little bit. Get our stovey on our plate. I'm just going to get a few last pieces.
I think Buddy the dog.
Yeah.
I think Buddy's getting quite hungry here, Henry.
A little bit interested in the salt beef, isn't he?
Starving.
There's some good. So that's a good sign that it smells good. I'm just going to put a few little pieces of the salt beef in with our egg, just to heat those up, and we'll put those on the plate too. Our eggs are pretty much there. That's good. We'll lay that on top of our stovey. We've got a few little pieces of the salt beef. Whole grain vinegar and cream. That whole grain mustard, sorry, and cream. We're just going to arrange that around the plate with our salt beef. And that's it. Nice hearty dish. Packed full of flavour. We'll give that little sprinkle of pepper wherever you are. Good to go.
There we go. Salt beef stovey, grain mustard sauce. So there we have it. Sancerre Domaine de Nozay, salt cod red pepper salad, cooked, Domaine de Bourg, St-Nicolas-de-Bourgueil, lightly chilled salt beef stovey, fried egg and mustard sauce. Two lovely lunchtime dishes, a fairly serious white wine, and a wine that's great at any time of the day. And as I said, these wines take me back to the 90s, the early 90s. It was the middle of a recession, and the Brackenbury was a restaurant that was highly regarded and went on to influence a lot of people along the way. And now that we can go back to pubs and restaurants, I guess I'm going to be spending my money in those kind of places where the owners are in their restaurants, where there's not too much money spent on frills and decor, but where the people working there are passionate about what they're cooking, how they're serving it, and indeed serving lovely wines in a room full of interesting people. And hopefully I'll see you there. Bye for now.